welcome to another Q&A stream ahead of Game Week 16. This is our last one before Christmas. And welcome to my co-host, Holly SHAND. How are you, lovely?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Just got distracted there. Sorry, something jumped up on my screen. Yeah, all good. Hopefully, we'll not have any technical issues this week after last week, because that took us all a bit by surprise, didn't it, really?
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a weird one.
It was
we'll blame Zoom.
Yeah, we will do. And how did you get on last game week? Did you get on okay? I know that you're coming on the show tomorrow night, so don't want to delve too much into it. But yeah, did you get on okay?
Yeah, I mean, Saturday, everything that could go wrong went wrong. You know, all the trolls of the game week were in my team, but a late captain switch really bailed me out.
Yeah, that's nice. We like those. We like those. I wasn't quite so lucky, but yeah, anyone who wants to check out my team selection video will know all about that. But okay, let's pop on to the Q&As then and get on with it. And we had a fair few again this week. So do get your questions in the chat, guys, and if we can answer them, we absolutely will. The first one, we'll go back to Sinu, but we'll start off with Chris. Just because we kind of touched upon it a little bit there, Holly. He said, "Are the best leeks really just served in a cream sauce?"
Oh gosh, I mean, I know we discussed this time last week about moving the deadline to be at the first kickoff, but at this point I'm not even convinced that will solve the issue. Like,
oh, really?
The leak that we got for game week 15 was a video, and for us who know how long it takes to make video content, it wasn't something that had been thrown together in 30 seconds. So, you know, there is information floating about, like, quite soon, but also a lot earlier than the deadline. So I don't know whether moving the deadline will actually solve the problem. It's like, basically, we want leaks to not exist. I don't think this could be the perfect solution. But yeah, it's annoying. I mean, I kind of benefited from it in the end this week, so I don't want to say too much negative about it, but it's a situation that he's dealing with. I'm live on Sky Sports again on Saturday morning for the 30 minutes prior to the game week 16 deadline, so I think I'm just going to make my moves and stick by them and hope for the best this week.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Thank you, Faisal, for the super chat. Very much appreciated. If you have a question, I will make sure that it's prioritized for you. Chris's second question was, what do I do with Foden? I want to get rid, but I'm also getting the feeling if I lose him, he'll of course haul. This is what I felt like last week in my panic of selling him.
Did you sell him in the end?
I did. I just thought I need a City midfielder, and the only one I know I can count on is KDB. And of course, who did I lose for that? Salah. But also sold Foden along the way as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Foden's still in my team, and I did try and sell him a few times before the deadline and failed. So he is the player in my squad right now that I'm looking at thinking, I don't want to own you in game week 16. I mean, he's got that ability to punish. He's just in Pep's bad books now.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how many minutes he plays tonight in the Carabao Cup. Obviously, it's a big game for City against Chelsea. But, you know, if Pep feels like a weakened squad and Foden gets 90, then I think that'll just confirm him. You know, when you've got the likes of Saka, Maddison, Kulusevski that have all got great fixtures this week that, you know, are probably going to play 90 minutes, like, you know, goodbye to Foden, I think.
Yeah, I agree. If he plays tonight, then I would be very dubious that he's actually going to start on the weekend. And it's so frustrating because I had him before all of the, you know, like everyone jumped on him effectively. So I guess I was kind of hoping that he'd just continue on. But yes, I don't know what's going on there. I don't understand Pep. Like, do you understand Pep, Holly? Because I don't understand Pep. He's so confusing. He's so confusing. Okay. Avi said, any early draft ideas for the World Cup wildcard? Possible formation ideas? Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, I still think 3-5-2 is probably the best formation in terms of the 11.
Yeah.
But when we've got so many games to be rescheduled, and we're probably going to have like a double game week with all 20 teams at some point, it does make it more difficult to then have a dud striker in a 3-5-2. And I mean, if your team value is okay, you could probably have Solanke as your third striker, but don't start him every week. Although for a player on pens, that's difficult to do. So, I mean, we've got quite a number of teams who significantly have a fixture in hand. Arsenal and Man City being the main ones, but we've also got Manchester United, Brighton, Chelsea, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Leeds as well. So, I mean, as someone who sold all my Arsenal assets before blank game week 12, I think having 3 Arsenal players is going to be pretty key for me. Probably with Cancelo, De Bruyne and Haaland in there as well. And then who knows for the rest of it. But, the 2 best teams in the Premier League, probably 3 Newcastle as well.
Yeah.
It's not going to take much deciding on the other 6 slots, is it, by the time you've plugged them in?
I know.
I mean, the Newcastle assets are such good value as well. Like, I'll finally get on Almiron. But even then, he's still going to be less than 6 million. I know some people have got him very, very cheap, but yeah, I think it'll be quite good. One thing I would say though is just don't go crazy on the tinkering for the wild card.
Yes.
Because, well, sorry, not the wild card, the unlimited transfers, because you don't want to accidentally sell Haaland on your unlimited transfers because you're tinkering and then have to pay 0.3 million more to get him back in your team.
Yeah, agreed. And also all of your transfers count towards your OR, don't they? So if you not that it'll be a lot, but it could drop you like 50, 100 places if you just literally sit there tinkering the whole time during the World Cup. Yeah. So
for me, it could be the difference between being in the top 100k or outside of it, just by how trigger happy I go in a break.
Literally, like the last 2 game weeks, if I'd had Saka last week and if I'd managed to make KDB my captain this week, is the difference between a red and green arrow. So it just goes to show you how close the ORs are at the moment. So just those couple of places, they do mean, something this season, absolutely. So, but I agree with you, 3 Arsenal, 2 or 3 Newcastle. Going to be tough to decide, I think, between KDB or Salah, really, isn't it? Because we're not going to be able to get both. And all the while, we're all going to probably be completely ignoring Kane, who's just been ticking away fantastically most of the season.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we're going to have to factor in, how involved players are in the World Cup and team squads and how deep players go into it. I think the break for Salah, though, is going to be pretty good for him.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, then. FPL Neil, he says, best Arsenal defender for Game Week 16 and who is the most differential?
Well, Saka's on pens, isn't he? So he's got to be first choice. I think, for me this week, getting a Foden replacement, it's Maddison or Saka. I think if Maddison's in Gareth Southgate's World Cup squad, which will get announced tomorrow, that's going to be a big factor on whether I go Maddison or Saka, because,
Do you think it'll make Maddison better or worse?
I think it'll make him better. Like, surely if he's out of that World Cup squad, I'd be, seriously annoyed. But then if he's in the squad, he's probably not going to want to play.
Yeah, good point.
It could be a tricky week for that, because we saw Mitrovic this week suddenly nowhere in the Fulham squad. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a few of them next week.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be probably so wrapped up on what City's doing that again we'll miss out on other news, which, given the Mitrovic news last week, it would have I just completely missed that in all the panic, and it would have been so easy for me to have gone, Foden to Almiron and then Mitrovic to Alvarez, say, for instance. And I just didn't even factor it in because I just completely missed that Mitrovic wasn't there. But also I had enough money at the time, probably to get to Kane or Darwin, because I still have that money now. So yeah, it's the panic that sets in, and I'm dyslexic as well, so I literally just blank out in panic.
Yeah.
So when it's really, really stressful, like really, really stressful, like I think I'm cool otherwise, but like when it's really stressful like that, I tend to just go, what's my plan again? I've forgotten everything, and then just do something completely different.
Yeah, well, there were content creators that said, "Oh, write a list of what to do in all of the situations," and then even when the news came through, then just like ripped that up and did something completely different anyway.
Yeah.
I was trying to buy Mahrez at one point for Foden, and then he wasn't even in the squad.
Yeah, no, I know. I remember when you said that, and I was like, "Well, at least you got away with that one." But yeah, best Arsenal defender for me, Neil. Probably. I have a bit of a tendency to lean towards Saliba. I've had him in my Sky team forever now, and he just ticks away nicely. He gets those bonus points. I mean, obviously, Gabriel. I guess it depends on who you can kind of get to. Because White is a good option as well if you can't afford the extra money. But if you can, then I think just take your pick between Gabriel and Saliba, really, and they're probably going to get you about as many returns each, because they are like few and far between. But I think they're both kind of up there for bonus points. But Saliba is just above Gabriel in points, and I think mostly that's because of his bonus points. So yeah, if I was looking for Arsenal defender, I'd probably side with Saliba. But yeah, as for your differentials, then Maddison might be a shout there from Holly. So yep, I like that one. Gareth asks, it's another Foden question. Should I sell Foden and get Kulu for a 1 week punt?
I mean, I'm personally not feeling the love for Kulusevski because I think he's just come back. I know. I feel like he's just come back from the injury, and I don't feel like the minutes are guaranteed when you've got Saka and Maddison that are basically nailed on for 90, and Saka's on pens as well. I think they're better options. I mean, he may already own one or two of them anyway, but I'd put both of them above Kulusevski.
Yeah, I think if it's a 1 week punt, and like you said, you probably if you own like a Saka already, then I don't mind it at all. He is coming back from injury, but you'd like to think maybe with it being, the last match for Spurs, that they might go all out, So I like it personally, but it is a punt. So as long as you're okay with the fact that it might be, it might go the opposite direction, then yeah. Which kind of leads us on to FPL Zaha's question. He says Martial or Kulu. So it seems like everyone else is feeling Kulu a lot more than yourself.
No. Not sure Martial either in terms of minutes.
Yeah, because he only came on in the last match, didn't he? He didn't actually start.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I'm not keen on either, really.
I think the reason Holly does quite well a lot of the time is because you do stick with players that are pretty much as you can nailed on to start, and that helps a lot, doesn't it? So
yeah, I mean, the probabilities of a player that's playing 90 minutes delivering you FPL points versus one that plays 20.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of risk versus reward, that one. Absolutely. Okay. Here's a slightly different one then. David asks Almiron or Trossard. My favourite person.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Trossard, but I'd sooner own Almiron. I think he's scored more goals in recent games for a start. He's that player that keeps delivering, even though I didn't expect it to continue, but you've got to back him now.
Yeah. Yeah. This is tough because I'm the opposite way around. So I have Almiron, but
Which one do you own?
I have Almiron, but I don't have Trollard.
Yeah.
Because every time I've had him, he does terribly for me. And part of me thinks, just let everyone else have the points, you know? And then the other part of me thinks, well, if you buy him, then you break him for everyone else. But yeah, it's tough. I think it's very much kind of the KDB Salah situation all over again, really. I'm on KDB, but I'm panicking about Salah. And I guess there's people the opposite way around this week, you know?
Yeah, you can't own them all though, can you?
No, exactly. So think I'd probably just side with Almiron as well, but I do like Trollard in terms of for other people. He just never works out for me at all. Okay, let's ask a few questions in the chat before we go on with our questions on Twitter. So hey guys, hey Zaha, hey Tarek, love from Syria. Wow, hi guys. Faisal, welcome. John, hey guys, I'm bunged up with nose cold, but I'm here. Loving the dedication there, John. Thank you. Tarek says Pep will find a new way to screw us all. Yeah, he does love to annoy us, doesn't he? John says he's bought in Saliba for Dalla already. Don't hate that shout. Okay, Stuart asks, replacing Tony. So, what do we do with Tony this week? Stuart, can you tell us what other forwards you have in the chat, please, buddy? And then we'll be hopefully able to advise a little bit more. But this one's a tough one because it's a tough price point, isn't it, Holly? There's not masses of options around it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's only 3 or 4 players that have scored more goals than Tony this season. So I think if you kept him last week, you might as well just keep him again this week. Again, it's one of them that if he's in the World Cup squad, then I mean, it's unlikely now, given the controversy that we've heard this week, whether there's any truth in that or not, I don't know. But, you know, if he was in the World Cup squad, I feel like he'd be a more attractive option this week. But like, I'm in a similar situation where I have very little faith in Mitrovic getting minutes again at the weekend. And then you look at the replacements, there aren't really any. I think going down to Solanke is the only way to go.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Tony did score last night, right? I think he did in the Carabao Cup. So you could keep him, I guess, as Holly suggested. If you like Mitrovic, right, Holly? What's the situation with you and him at the moment? Because obviously we had that kind of rogue injury out of nowhere last week, and I know you were kind of planning to keep him through these difficult fixtures, but has last week changed your opinion on him for anyone who's in a similar Mitrovic dilemma?
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he was in Serbia. So I don't know whether it was a case of he wasn't going to be able to play all of the games before the World Cup, and they decided that the sacrificial lamb had to be the City game because they weren't expecting to get anything from it. And why flog him in a game like that where very little possession, very little chances? Obviously, the game turned out to be quite a lot different from that anyway. But if he was in Serbia, is he going to come back for the Manchester United game, or are the Serbian team trying to wrap him up in cotton wool for the World Cup?
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing is that the forward options aren't that attractive. So if you're in a position like you are in, where you've got a lot of money in the bank, don't necessarily think, oh, I've got Mitrovic who's a problem or Tony who's a problem, I need to replace them, because you can get that 1 week punt in any position. You could upgrade your 5th midfielder or your 4th or 5th defender and play a different formation this week, go for a punt in midfield, go for a punt on Perisic, rather than, you know, going for Solanke because he's the only attractive option. I mean, I've not got any money in the bank, so I can only really go to Solanke. But, you know, the Liverpool strikers are options this week. Gabriel Jesus, if you don't own him at the moment, is an option as well for those with funds in the bank. But explore players in other positions as well, because, you know, it doesn't matter if one of those strikers is on your bench this week and you go for a punt in a different position, because it is a 1 week shootout.
Yeah, so for me, I was somewhat considering downgrading Wilson to a very cheap Greenwood and then being able to upgrade Andreas to Salah and playing 5 in midfield, but that would leave me with only Haaland up front if Mitrovic was in Serbia, as you suggested. So that's interesting one to learn about. But yes, I have a lot of money in the bank at the moment, and I can make Mitrovic, Darwin, or Kane. Or Andreas, a Saka, or a Kulu, or a Maddison. So thankfully I have a lot of options, but that is interesting to learn about Mitrovic. Hopefully we get some news, and to be honest, I need some news on Wilson as well, so I'm hoping we get some very definites on both of those, but it hasn't been kind to us this season with very specific pressers, has it? It's been very give a little bit and not enough to really go on this season. Yeah. So I think that makes it, it makes it more difficult on deciding what you're going to do earlier, which I think is then like funnel necking all of us into these kind of later deadline picks, and then for hearing that we might get leaks as well. So it's all just kind of a perfect storm, really, isn't it? Managers not giving very much, and then so you're thinking the only information I know I'm going to get is a Saturday, 20 minutes before the deadline, so therefore you hold off. And so hopefully they're a bit kinder to us this week so that we can be a bit more prepared. Okay, let's head back then to Twitter, and we can find the next question when my computer catches up, and we'll keep those questions coming in the chat, guys, because we'll ask a few more. And Projwell asks to be cautious of players with slight injury worries and a World Cup to look forward. Saka, Mitrovic, Trippier, for example.
Yeah, as I've already alluded to, I feel like this is going to bite us a few times this week. Yeah. I know it's not what people want to hear, but it is. I mean, I think it doesn't help. I mean, the schedule has purposely been favourable this week, that there's no, big games between the traditional top 6, so that, it's a softer end before the World Cup break, and that means that there is going to be opportunities for players to maybe be rested, that have got little injury issues and are wanting to be at the World Cup. I mean, in terms of pinpointing who and what, I don't know, but anyone who's had fitness concerns in the last 6 weeks would be in the frame there.
Agreed. It's going to be a minefield. It really is. It's going to feel a lot like, I think, the last day of the season, really, in that respect. So, FPL SP says, best 1 week punt out of the following: Perisic or Kulu or Alisson. Wow. There's some punts there.
Yeah, I mean, Perisic for me is the one that I'd really love to own this week, because I mean, he's got the potential to play out of position again, and he looked great against Liverpool. Just some stats: he was top for crosses among all players with 14, and top for key passes with 5. He hit the woodwork twice, and he was second for expected goal involvement with 1.4 across all players in Gameweek 15. So that was against Liverpool in a tough game for Spurs. Like, Leeds at home, if he's out of position again, it could be fire.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we might be ignoring that matchup a little bit, just based on, because like you say, so many other good informed teams have great fixtures.
Yeah.
But so I'm very interested in Kane, but now I'm thinking on what you said, and I'm wondering, would they couldn't rest Kane, surely. I mean,
No, I mean,
would
there's no
they?
reason to. He's not had any fitness issues.
He's not
has
had
he?
any
So
fitness issues, so I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a bit more relaxed about that. But I hear you on Perisic, because he looks scary good every week. He's due, isn't he? He's really due, but it's whether it will come. That's the question, because he's ticking away in all these stats, but he's not necessarily delivering. You'd think that Alisson would be on for a clean sheet this week, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So that's
Not
not a
very
bad
exciting,
shout.
though, is it?
It's not very exciting, no, not unless he kind of manages an assist or something completely random. That'd be hilarious if that happened now. Yeah, I think if it's a 1 week punt, like you say, you have to do something exciting with it. So Perisic or Kulu feel more exciting to me than Alisson. Though if you just want to make sure that you're going to get those points in the bag, then you'd think you'd be guaranteed them with Alisson. Okay, Marcus. Foden to Kulu, Maddison, Zaha, Almiron, Rashford, Trossard, Bowen. Already have Saka, Martinelli, Salah and Andreas. Or Wilson to Firmino, Watkins. Already have Solanke and Haaland. It's a bit of a list there.
Yeah, no. I think the moves for midfielders are generally more exciting this week than the moves for strikers. But again, there's still quite a lot of football to be played tonight and tomorrow night. So I think we'll have a better overall view by then. But I like the look of Maddison and Saka for midfield transfers at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that I'm against. Yeah, I'd probably be. I've got Zaha and I don't know what to do with him, Holly. Literally, I mean, he's my easiest way back to Salah if I want him. I can't go directly to him, annoyingly. I'm 0.2 short. But
every time Zaha's on the chopping block, he comes up with a double-digit haul, and you're like, that's why I own him.
Yeah.
It's Forest as well.
I know, exactly. But then people are saying he might not play up front this week because, is it Eze's back? Or no, somebody's been out. And they're potentially back this week for Palace. So I think a couple of people have said that Zaha may not play up front this week like he did last week. But then why switch up something that's working? I mean, come on. Of those though, I'm probably between. Oh, that's a tough list. Isn't it funny how last week we were all so Rashford, and then one blank, and like none of us are considering him now this week.
It doesn't even make the short list.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the long list.
Oh, the long list. Yeah. Bowen's definitely scratched off. I think I don't think I'd bother there unless you've got some real hankering for him. Kulu and Almiron probably my favourite, but I know that Trossard's doing really well, and as I say, Madsen could depend on the call up tomorrow whether he's a good one. But I prefer those over Wilson to Firmino or Watkins. Firmino feels like he can haul in any game, but it's waiting for him to do it, and you got to hope that he does it, and that's the thing. Whereas I feel more confident that one of those those midfielders would return more. As for Watkins, it's tough to know yet whether the good ebbing last week was a one-off new manager bounce, or whether or not it's going to be something really good going forward for Villa. So that is a real punt, isn't it, Watkins, Holly? He really would be kind of potentially chasing last week's. Did he get anything last week? I know Ramsey went nuts, but
yeah, I think he did. But
yeah,
no, he's not really a player that I'm looking at either, because
yeah,
he's just been too inconsistent. 2 goals, 3 assists. It's just not enough, is it?
no, absolutely. Okay, FPL Sudani says best 7.2 midfielder if you have Trossard, Foden, Salah, Martinelli, and Andreas to be transferred out, and the best week punt. So lots of people looking for punts this week. 7.2. I'll just pull up the other screen. So, did he say he didn't have Alma on yet? So I guess he's a good shout, Holly. We both like him as an option, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think, given his current form, I think he's an easy one to back right now.
Yeah. So he's under 7.2. We can't really go with Rashford. Rashford doesn't fall into that, does he?
Isn't Rashford 6.5?
Yeah, I think he's a bit too expensive. Yeah, 6.7. So he wouldn't be any good to you. How much is Trollard now? He's got to be
7.1.
Yeah, so he's too expensive.
I did like the look of Gibbs White last week.
Yeah, he's not a bad shout. I also quite like Tavernier, is it, of Bournemouth?
His underlying numbers have looked great for weeks, and now he's suddenly come up with 4 attacking returns in 2, and everyone's now talking about him.
Yeah, he's got a good fixture as well, hasn't he? So
yeah, Everton.
So yeah, I think he could be a potentially good shout as well. So hopefully one of those will float your boat there, Sudani, and hopefully that's helpful. Okay. I'm just pulling up the next tweet. Okay. We'll go with this one from GoFund. So, okay, should I sell Mount to bring Martinelli, Kulusevski, Foden, or another good midfielder in for game week 16? So the first one I've seen actually wanting to bring Foden in rather than selling him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not the move for Foden, but I do think that you could easily replace Mount at the moment. He's probably been a frustrating hold, and there's so many better value players.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not having Martinelli is an interesting one. Do you think? I mean, if he can afford Kulusevski, he could potentially afford Saka, right? If he doesn't have him.
Yeah, I mean, he may already own Saka.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't hate the double up on Arsenal mids this week if he is a Saka owner. I'd buy Saka over Martinelli just because of the penalty situation. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind the double up this week either. Hopefully we win. It'd be nice to go into the break with a win. So cool. Okay, I'll just leave my screen here while we just answer some chat questions. Okay. Who do we have here? Hi guys, hi Focus, welcome everybody. Alison says hi Nim and Holly. Okay, FPL Pope says Kane to, I think that's meant to be Solanke, and Foden to Salah, worth it. It's a selling Kane bit I'm not sure about in that situation.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. I mean, when it comes to a double move where you're selling a player with huge points potential just to get in another player with huge points potential, like, doesn't always pay off. Yeah. I'd try and find a different route or a different move. Like you can't own them all this week. And you look and, you know, Haaland and De Bruyne, great fixture. But then you look, Salah and Kane have got great fixtures as well. You can't have them all. And I think swapping between the premiums is not an effective use of your transfer this week.
Yeah. It is tough not owning Salah. Somebody in that boat, I can tell you that it is a fear, because I think you can fear players most weeks, like, you know, generally kind of consensus players that are coming in, and you can have a bit of kind of all the communities going with that player. I feel like I need them, but it's a different kind of fear to not owning Salah. So I can see why you would want to try find any way to him, but it is also much more difficult taking a hit for him, or even potentially getting him in this week, knowing that we can have him literally around the corner. So that's the tough bit. It's almost, can you take the hurt of one game week of whatever he can do to us, you know? And because in that situation, if Foden ended up starting, so he doesn't play tonight, for instance, and he ends up starting, and Kane plays, I mean, against a leaky Leeds team, those points could easily outweigh potentially what Salah could do, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Oh, I just hate those sideways moves. Like, I've been there in the past, and you get tunnel vision of, I want Salah this week, and you're prepared to do anything to get him in, and you sell other, you know, premium players, other highly owned players to do it, and then, you know, Salah blanks Kane scores a hat trick, and you're like, what have I done?
Yeah. Well, if I get Kane and I avoid Salah, I hope that happens. Otherwise, yeah. So Tarek says, I am 2 million overall ranked, having a tough season. Should I captain Haaland or KDB, or just go bananas and captain Darwin?
I mean, I benefited from a differential captain this week. However, you know, Haaland had like 3 really great chances for City, and
I remember you messaging me when he come on. You were like, "Oh, I wish I
like
left it on
he
him
could
now."
easily have got a double-digit haul, and then, you know, you'd be because it's the early kickoff as well. Like, imagine how you'd feel for the rest of the game week if Haaland scored a hat trick. You didn't have him as captain. I mean,
it's that pain with Haaland, isn't it? Is he can
but
do
this
it any
injury
time.
situation's still lingering. Like, I still think there's a good chance that he may not play or be a sub, which is just annoying. And it's not. You just got to back him though, haven't you?
The thing is, my kind of thinking on it at the moment is, will Pep really care about the World Cup? Because for him at the moment, he's behind in the Premier League, and he wants to go into this break surely being top of the league. Now,
he's got to get 3 points in that game. He can't, like, with it being the early kickoff as well, like, he's got to put the pressure on Arsenal, hasn't he, at the very least?
He has to put the pressure on us. Has to. Like, it's, yeah. He has no option, I think. But that's why when people are saying to me, KDB will be benched, Haaland will be benched, like,
KDB won't be benched.
I can't, unless for some reason something happens this evening with KDB. I don't really see why that would happen. And then it really will just be about the injury for Haaland. But he came on last week and potentially could have had 2 goals, potentially. One was ruled offside. The other one, you know, he got the penalty. So it's whether or not he'll feature, I should imagine, either way. Do you think, Holly? I think he'll feature either way, like he did last week.
I mean, Pep had no choice but to bring him on against Fulham.
Yeah.
Like, and he had to win the game. But
will he risk to do the same again? Will he risk to hope that they get it in the bag this time and not have to bring him on? Or
well, he did. I don't know how much you believe Pep's comments, but he basically said that he had
Not
to
at
play
all.
him because they were losing. Well, not because they weren't winning.
So yeah, you think
because he's kind of alluded to the fact that he doesn't know whether he'll be available for tonight in the Carabao Cup, or whether he wants to risk him. And he probably doesn't want to risk him against Brentford. And again, if we believe what he was saying, he's only going to use him if he really needs to. But that's if we believe what he was saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think just going back to what Tarek's asked, and I think when you're at 2 million or whatever, your mindset is, I have to try and do something different because if I copy everyone else, there's no way I can rise. Personally, I think that's the wrong thought process to have. I think having a very good structured team that is doing well. So the good thing about being at that rank is I think you could take, not right now, and the fact that we're going into a break is a good thing. But if you were really struggling, I don't mind at that rank taking a few hits to get a lot of the players that are doing well. So in this instance, you're quite lucky, Tarek, that we're going into this break and you can make your unlimited transfers. Get in a lot of the players that are doing well for everybody. Obviously, it's going to depend very much on what happens at the World Cup. So keep an eye on content, keep an eye on what other people are doing, but fill your team with the players that are in form, that have good fixtures, and then just have a couple of other extra punts. So, where other people are taking punts on a couple of players in their team, that's where you take the punts. But at that rank, I don't know if Holly agrees, but at that rank, I think sometimes just being consistently good with the right players is enough to pull you back up in the rankings, so that then you can be a bit more out there with your choices.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of taking risks and punts, you don't need to take risks on captaincy at this stage in the season.
Yeah, agreed. So we're saying keep it on Haaland unless we hear any major news. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Kane is an underrated machine. Edward, that's who I was thinking of. I couldn't remember who it was who was back this week, but Dee Dee reminded me it's Edward. He's back, so I guess that could potentially mean that Zaha isn't up front. Dee Dee said, I got him wildcard 8, kept him for 1 goal, 1 assist, and sold him last game week, but the blow was low as his replacement was Amron. I guess we're talking about Zaha there, so yeah. Focus says he's got his eye on Matoma at 4.9. What do you think of Matoma, Holly? Any thoughts on him?
To be honest, I don't really know a lot about him. I've not really been tracking his progress so far this season. I know he's kind of popped up with a few attacking returns in the last couple of games, but I don't know. He's okay as a punt, but I'd prefer maybe going with like a Gibbs White, if someone with the underlying numbers, if I was doing it.
Yeah. Snowball asked, bench Mitrovic or Wilson? Bit tough without having the full picture.
Yeah, I mean, I've got both of them. I think Wilson's more likely to play. I think he's just got the sniffles, so I'd say Wilson.
Yeah, I think unless we hear anything going on more with Wilson than we were sure about, then yeah, we'll probably go Wilson too. Welcome, Yelena. Stuart saying, well, we've got hello. Dee Dee says, is it fair to use one free transfer on a goalkeeper transfer this week when that goalkeeper is Raya versus Man City?
If you've got no other issues, then I don't hate it. It's not the most exciting, but if he is the weakest person in your 11,
yeah,
and maybe you've not got Ward on your bench, then yeah, you can do.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much going to depend on whether you've got a couple of flags like like I have. But if you've got no other issues, I don't see any problem. Like always, if you have no other issues with your team, always deal with the weakest player.
Particularly this week.
Yeah, particularly this week. Stuart says Tony has Man City away though. Should I just bench him? It's the sort of thing where
he's on pens, isn't he? Like, you saw what happened last weekend.
Yeah.
I just play him.
Just play him. Just, you never know what will happen. So, yeah. You might get lucky. Okay. Midnight Mule says, I have no questions. Just enjoying the show. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you. Dizzy says, I put in Mitrovic in my team and every time I do, he gets benched. Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Maybe don't put him in your team this week for the rest of us. We did have just one or two more questions on my retweet for today before we wrap up, Paul. So 2 seconds, I'll just go grab those. It was on this one here. And we had one from Ian Matthews. He says, thoughts on premiums for the second half of the season, 2 or 3, with budget enablers in defence and midfield. The 3-man formation looks a strong option, but who would you recommend? Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, I didn't think 3-man was viable because I was expecting to have a stacked defence for most of the season. And now, you know, beyond Cancelo, it's not exactly stacked. It's got a lot of funds held up in Trippier. I think 3 is probably optimal now. Some will maybe even go for 4. It's going to be Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah if I can do it, but my team value is not great. I don't really. I'm sure some way you can get like the stats for the average on team value. I'm just trying to load mine now. It's 102.2, so it's not great.
I think mine's 104 point something. Hang on a second.
Yeah, you'll be able to do it easily, but I'm going to struggle.
104.4 at the moment. So yeah, I think it's possible. I think you probably have to go 2 up top though, rather than 3. So those kind of mid-priced forwards, if they start kind of kicking off again in the new year, it'll be slightly tougher, I think, to potentially get them in. But again, this one's tough because with Salah now doing well, it's a lot tougher, and we just don't know what Pep is going to do with Foden. I mean, if Foden comes back into the thinking at the beginning, like, of our next run of games, then he's so much cheaper than KDB, and then you could look at Kane, you know. But I think if he doesn't come back into the thinking, then I agree. I like KDB, Haaland and Salah, and I am trying very hard not to do it for this game week for a hit myself. I'm like, do I just hold on one more week? You can do it. But yeah, I guess it's that fear of going into the break with another red arrow, isn't it?
Well, I need a green this week. I'm 1 point off the top 1 million, and you know, I feel like I'll have at least redeemed myself a little bit if I can go into the World Cup break in the top 1 million. I mean, I know it's shocking, but you know, you've got to have a bad season at some point, and I think this one is mine.
But to be honest, there's so long to go. There's such a long way to go, and there's so many options this season. What with us now getting, you know, these unlimited transfers and then another wild card, we're going to have double game weeks to pull all that back. I don't think you're in a bad position. I know that sounds really silly, but everyone is so squidgy that 1 million, it might seem like a lot, but I think you'll be well up there by the end of the season. To be fair, I'm usually the opposite way around to what I am now, which is probably why I'm so terrified of slipping down. But I'm usually kind of flailing around somewhere 800k or 1 million at this sort of stage, and then manage to kind of pull it, right back to say right up into whatever. So yeah, I think you're okay. There's time, and as you say, I mean, you're consistently good. So like a bad season, I mean, I don't think you need to. You're not there yet. Don't worry, you're not there yet. It's not a bad season yet.
Yeah. That kills you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Being an Arsenal fan, I know all about that previous seasons. Okay, Go FPL Tip says best defender below 5 million and best midfielders below 7 million. So we've kind of, although he's got game week 15 there, I think he means 16. So we've kind of covered the below 7 million for midfielders. So any best below 5 million for a defender?
I think, first of all, I would look to the Arsenal defence because they've just been so consistent. So you can get Ben White in at that. Whether you could get a Kanji at Man City, but you've probably already travelled up on their assets anyway. Probably beyond that, maybe a Brighton defender, but it's not particularly exciting. Doherty's. Sorry, Perisic. Did I say Doherty before?
Yeah.
No, Perisic. Perisic is obviously the one that you'd really want to have. But yeah, under 5 million, just an Arsenal defender, I'd say.
Yeah. Could consider Castagna. I think he's still under 5 million. He's been pretty decent for me. Who else have we got this week with good fixtures? To be fair, I think that's probably it. I mean, covering the Arsenal defence is not a terrible shout this week at all. Okay. Christian Ewan says, hi Nim and Holly, start Perisic this coming game week or bench him in place of Tony. Rest of the 11 is Pope, Trippier, Saliba, Cancelo, Zaha, Almiron, Trossard, Martinelli, Rashford, Kane and Haaland.
Yeah, I'd play Perisic.
Same. I think so as well. I think there is always the potential of Tony getting a penalty, but if you've got somebody like Perisic you can play in that fixture, then it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know it's hard benching Tony, but there's gonna be things that happen this week that means that Tony's probably gonna come off your bench.
Yeah. Stuart says that if he's not playing Tony, he would be playing Andreas against Man United instead, though. I mean, that might not be terrible, especially if Mitrovic is out again.
Yeah.
He could potentially get you a penalty or, some sort of attack and return from a free kick or something. So it's not necessarily terrible. I have terrible luck with Andreas. When I play him, he does absolutely nothing for me. When I bench him, I never have him in the right order when he does something for him to come.
Yeah, it's the fact that both times that I've benched him, not only has he scored, but I've also not even had him as first sub.
I know, yeah, exactly. No, I don't think I've had his hauls very often at all. Snowball says, is it necessary to take a -8 for Salah so that I have 3 premiums? No. No.
You can have 3 premiums in game week 17.
Yeah, just wait one more week. And we say 1 more week, although don't make your transfer straight away once the game is updated. But yeah, I think there's no point now. Just wait until you can have a whole new team pretty much just after Christmas. That's your Christmas present from Official. Is that they're allowing us to have a whole new team for the new year. So that's quite nice. So I wouldn't do it yet. He says also Captain Kane or Haaland. Keep up the brilliant work. Oh, thanks. I think a slightly tougher, but I think Haaland is just kind of stick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holly. Yeah, I think just stick and wait in here and have your vice captaincy on Kane. It's not going to be a terrible shout at all. So, okay. Right, where are we at time? I think we can squeeze one more win. She says Newcastle defence, Holly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of managers are already trebled up and doubled up on the defence already, so I wouldn't throw another one in. I'd just sooner get Almor on if you don't have him already.
Yeah. And Snowball says best midfielders under 6 million besides Almiron already have the triple Newcastle with Almiron and Wilson. So yeah, I think we mentioned a few. Okay, you've got Almiron, maybe Tavernier, Gibbs White, Holly quite liked. So it could, if you haven't got another Arsenal, maybe you could take a punt on an Odegaard or a you know,
Xhaka.
or Xhaka. Yeah, if you can hope that he doesn't get a card for you. Because he loves a card, Xhaka. Okay, well, thank you all so much, guys. Really, really appreciate you guys joining us this week. So thank you again, Holly. You'll be joining us tomorrow evening in the FPL Late Show. So
Yeah,
our first guest, so that's exciting. And yeah, so do make sure you come on over and check that out, guys. It'll be 8 p.m. tomorrow evening UK time. So I know there is a match on, but get that iPad out. You can be watching the United match and watching us at the same time, you know. So we can multitask. And please do go over and check out Holly's channel. Where can they find you, Holly?
at Holly Shand on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah, so you can see just under her camera there, and I've got a link in the description below as well. So thank you all so much. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can also check out my team selection video that came out yesterday if you want to know how I got on. I do a lot of moaning, which is, you know, quite fun. But you'll also see who I'm really considering for game week 16 as well. So thank you all so much, guys, and we will catch you soon. Bye.